copy, remove the tomato, bring on the bigger tomato, and boom, there we go, my friends. Welcome to the new background. We wanted to make a few changes here. And you know what? We just got done with Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, celebrated the New Year, had our Day of Atonement, fasted, did all the rest of that stuff. Been going to shul, not every day, but finding that balance, what's right for me when it comes to attending and going to the services and all the rest of that stuff. Finding that happy balance. That's going to be the key to this whole thing here. Finding that happy balance, finding that common ground, with everybody in what we is that we do, what it is that we want to do. One thing that's spoken of, and I'm not going religious here, but one of the things that we speak about a lot, is doing mitzvahs on the Jewish side of things. Mitzvahs, doing good for others. You could translate that to a few other religions, actually just about every other religion, except maybe not the extreme ones. Could bring in an expert on that one. But do unto others that you have them do unto you, I think is the terminology on that one. Treat your fellow man like you'd like to be treated. All that neighborly thing, everything that goes along with it. We're not looking for, we want to help people in ways that are more permanent, all the rest of that stuff. Come to whatever wording that you'd like to use on that one. I couldn't care less. Don't care. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Whatever those exact words are, immaterial. It really comes down to the actions. What do people do? What do you do? Look, I can tell you, I sit here and I do all kinds of wondrous things. Oh, well and good, right? But if I just sit here and go yak, 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 I probably should be sitting, moving right now, right? We will. But it's just words. It's just words. Where are the actions that go along with it? We say we're going to do things, but do we really do them? Well, there are quite a few people out there that really do what is good for society, what is good to help out communities, what is good to help people move forward. Not just what they say, but what it is that they do. Not just the words, but what those actions are behind those words. Sometimes folks will give you no words. No words. I do know a few people that don't like to speak too much, but they like to do. See, there are a few things, many things that people like to do in front of the camera. There's a lot of things that people like to do away from the camera, away from the photo op, away from the scenes, away from the front of it, but much more focused on the back of it. We'll use our restaurant as the example of the day on that one. There are clearly two sides of a restaurant: the front, the back. The tables, the customers, the retail, the back, the food preparation, the cooks, the ordering, the food storage, the operations of it. It's all the backside of it. Most people have no idea who's in the backside of a restaurant, who's doing the cooking, the preparation, the marketing, the ordering, inventory control, cleanliness, and everything else that goes along with it. Could that restaurant succeed without those people? Absolutely not. Could that restaurant succeed without those people, the up front, the front end of the restaurant? And I'm talking the waiters, waitresses, busboys, maitre d', folks that book different events, all that kind of forward-looking, consumer-looking side of things. Would the restaurant succeed without any of those people? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It needs both sides. Society needs both sides of that, not just the business world, not just the nonprofit world, not just any world in order for it to succeed, which also means that you, as an individual, have an opportunity to be either the front end, the consumer looking side of something, or perhaps you'd much prefer the back end, the operational side, the organizational side, the get it done side of it, not just the forward looking side. And I understand, I know that many of us have different sides of what we do where we prefer to be front facing on some, backwards facing, not back, support facing, not backwards facing. Gosh, who's backwards facing? Support facing on the other side of it. Gosh, see that in every aspect of everything that we do. Well, one of the things I wanted to bring to you was not just the front facing or the support side of it, the backdrop over there, okay? But we put a few things together back here that are kind of representative, we'll say, of me, of different aspects of me. No tomatoes back there. Maybe we should get a tomato for back there too. Get a big tomato. All right, anybody run across a big tomato? We'll put a big tomato back there. Make it work that way. But with these things that I've been involved with, and many things I'm sure you've been involved with, businesses, community, nonprofits, government, town officials, elected officials, you see that what goes on there, right? There are some folks that much prefer to be on that camera, to be talking about all kinds of great things, and sometimes backing it up with not much. Then there are other folks you don't even hear anything about, but they're doing a lot of things behind the scene. Maybe they're working with a specific portion of the population, where they really just focused on, and I've seen this happen, with their township, because their focus is the township, not the all of, but just the township. And the different community groups that are in there, and perhaps some of the different organizations that are there, some of the businesses that are there, they're really focused on that. Does that mean they don't care about everything else? No, absolutely not. It means that they are actually fulfilling the role that they decided to take on, that they've been elected to really focus in on that. Now, I'm going to try to be as positive as I possibly can on this one, on the world of elected officials, politics, government, all the rest of that kind of stuff. One, we live in a country that was built on so many different nationalities, ethnicities, people coming here. Not only that, everybody that came here from someplace else. The Native Americans, we'll give them the label of being here. They were only here before everybody else, but we won't go back in history. Maybe they came from someplace else too. That goes a little too far back in these comments, but most of us, all of us, most of us, let's go in that category. We could trace our history back here in the United States for a generation for some, brand new arrival for others, 2 generations, 3 generations, 4 generations ago. I think on balance, I go probably back 3 generations, maybe 4 generations, when my family immigrated to America. So we're a melting pot. We definitely are a melting pot. Have we forgotten that? Have some folks out there forgotten that? Yeah, I tend to think so. I really do. One of the things that really makes this nation great, makes our country great, is the fact that there's so many different people from so many different places, and we're all kind of coming together as one. I think we forgot that, though. Yeah, I definitely think we forgot that. I think we forgot the fact that, when things are good, all ships rise, that kind of thing. Well, when things are good, it's not a matter of this group's doing better than that group or whatever. That's always going to be the case. Some people succeed more than other people succeed, right? But it doesn't mean that those that are not succeeding as much are not moving forward. They should be. They dearly should be. And now the question is that, are we helping everybody to move forward at whatever pace that they are moving forward? Or are we just completely stuck in the past? Or maybe we forgot about the past. See, I tend to think we've got different situations for different things there. But I think we've forgotten about the past, that we are a melting pot, that we are a grouping of different people in order to move forward. And that really is something that I'd love to see us get back to. Yeah, I was too young for this one, all right, but Kennedy, John Kennedy, president, when he announced that, hey, in the next 10 years, we'll go into the moon, you know, my understanding, again, I'm a little too young for that comment, but my understanding was, hey, let's do it. And they did it. Everybody kind of came together, on that one. I don't know if we've ever come back to that. Some folks had mentioned, and is a I have definitely mixed emotion by using this as an example. September 11th, terrible day. September 12th, much more of like we were all for the we again, kind of thing. And then that's faded out, one more time. Love to see us get back to that we common ground again. That's why I call this thing win win win. I met with some people, and again, all the stuff who I met with, and the rest of it was all preliminary conversations about a whole bunch of different things. But I'll tell you a secret too. Very exciting conversations. That's not a secret. Projects working on, very early to talk about. So, we'll let you go on that one. But here's the secret. You see, some of them were Democrats and some of them were Republicans. Oh my. And guess what? Those folks that I've spoken to, they have something in common. Oh no, not the labels. The labels are different. Their wording on a bunch of different things, perhaps different. But some of the things that we discussed, and you know what I've been discussing, and nothing's been new. I do believe that there are catalysts out there that will help our schools, our high schools, all high schools, provide our students with better opportunities to find out what their inner strengths are. Bottom line, you want to bring this whole thing down to one sentence of what I'm doing, and a whole bunch of different things, but one factor that is absolutely the most common theme in my world has been, how do we help students understand what their inherent skills are, what they truly have an interest in, what would be the natural thing for them to do as they continue to grow, as they get through junior high school, college, enter the career world. Maybe they go from high school to enter the career world. Hey, that's all great. It's even better than that. In high school, they start entering the career world. Maybe they're not entering the career world from a income standpoint, but they're entering the career world from a learning standpoint. And that's really been my big focus, broken down into one sentence. And if you want to ask me anything, I am more than happy to justify it. Today, that's not really it. Today, I want to share with you, at the prompting of my lovely wife, who decided that today's topic is going to be politics, because you know what? It should. It's always a part of it. Always a part of it. But these folks that I've been speaking to, I'll use the term both sides of the aisle, but there was no aisle, on all sides of the conference table, all sides of any of the meetings that we've had in there, came to the common conclusion that they agree with that. They'd like to see more opportunities in their own way. I mean, there's slight variances with the whole thing, but it still is in that realm of helping our students, helping our younger population understand what is available to them from a career standpoint, what resources are needed in order to help the economy, to help our local economy, our Long Island economy continue to thrive. And every one of them understand that if the economy, if the businesses, if the establishments that we have here, both retail and also commercial, are not getting the employees that they need with built-in skill sets in many cases, it's going to be a long-term issue. And we've been discussing that for many, many years, the brain drain. How many people are leaving, this area because there are opportunities someplace else? Well, I could tell you, and many of those people could tell you the same thing, that there are many opportunities here. And many of those people, I'm using two hands here because some on this side, some on that side of words, have the same common occurrence, the common thought process over there. Look, if our business continued to thrive, that's good. That means more people are employed. That's good. Also means for a greater tax base. That's good. More people stay on Long Island. That's good for real estate. That's good. More people stay on Long Island. That's good for many of the places that we go to for family fun entertainment. That's good. Also good for some of the over 21 places too. Can't forget our wineries, our local beer establishments, which is unbelievable industry. If you don't know about that, so many different companies coming out and starting their own beer companies here on the island, and there's some great success stories along those lines. I've interviewed a few people with that as a thing, but you tell me, is that a Republican thing or a Democratic thing to see the growth of one's area? I'm going to throw the word independent in there too because there's somebody now running as an independent, um, somewhere in the Midwest. I forget what state it was. Again, I don't really follow politics, but I'm involved. You are too, because there's no way this country works without our, let's call them elected officials. Because sometimes those extremes on both sides of it are not doing us any good. Really not. But those that understand that actions speak louder than words. Again, we'll give credit to somebody else. I did not make that one up. But those that are really truly acting and doing in their community's best interest and creating a win situation for that community, whether it be a group of people, geographical community, whatever it might be. See, because when they win, when they continue to grow, there's a spillover effect as that goes and continues on, without a doubt. So businesses, do business need to do well? Yeah. Is it all about the businesses? No, it's not all about the business. It's about the businesses growing and bringing in employees and bringing in new people to work. Is it about in businesses working really efficiently and maybe computerizing more and more? And look, I mean, we're going back here. This is not something new. You always talk about these things like it's something new. Oh, they're going to automate. Well, you know what? Let's go back to some of the auto production companies in the early 1900s, which would be about 100 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. But what happened 100 years ago at some of these automotive plants that were making cars one by one, all by hand? It got this thing came along called an assembly line. Hey, if you do an assembly line, I guess I'm Jewish on that one, huh? If you have an assembly line, that means, oh, so many people are not going to be needed to work because you can do it with fewer people. Well, absolutely. But what do you do with those fewer people? Somebody had to ask that question back then. And that as that assembly line became more and more automated with, you've got robots doing the work that those men, eventually men and women, oh, we did another thing of change. Amazing, huh? But as those production employees kept getting replaced by robots, those cars got done much quicker, it got done much more efficiently. But what happened to those people? Where did they go? We have this discussion coming up here about electric cars. And I've seen some of those posts, and definitely some of them are kind of on the humorous side. I certainly will admit on that one. But then again, do you think that the automobile industry from car production is going to change? Absolutely. I can only imagine the first person's looking at it like, what's that? And it's a traffic light. I have to stop? You can't tell me what to do. Yes, we can. And stay on one side of the road, not the other side of the road, wait your turn, allow cars to pass, speed limits, all these things. Government driven? Yeah, I tend to think it is. For the good of the people? Yeah, I tend to think it was. Do we agree with everything? No. Do we argue about everything? Shouldn't. Disagree? Hey, that's fine. Communicate? Yeah, a little bit better in that one. But progress is there. So as these businesses get a bit more efficient or very much more efficient, what do we do? Because they're going to wind up replacing more and more people with more and more either robots, computers, more efficient the way they do things, without a doubt. Look, farming. You talk about farming. Farming in this country, going back before the Industrial Revolution, farming in this country employed the vast majority of people, or it was what the vast majority of people needed to do. Industrial Revolution came along, everybody went over to industry. Wow, what a change that was. All started packing into cities and that kind of thing. Now, change is on the horizon again. I don't think we're all going back to farming, but now all of a sudden, so many of us are able to work remotely. Big change on the horizon. Change happens. And here's the point of this whole thing: the auto industry changing from combustion engine to battery operated cars or battery powered cars, electric vehicles. Will that happen? Yeah, absolutely. Has there been some extreme statements on that? Yeah, absolutely. Right? Without a doubt. What about those employees? What do we do with those employees? And you know what we should be doing? We should be having real conversations with our elected officials. We should be having real conversation with our business people. And I only hope that that stuff is going on in the support side of things, and we just don't know about it because our news channels are busy following everybody's extreme comments on both sides, which doesn't do anybody any good. It's all way too extreme on every end of it. Look, if some of these comments about switching over to electric vehicles tomorrow, that ain't happening. It's just not happening, for one. Realistically speaking, not happening. Will we eventually convert over to more and more electric vehicles? Yeah, absolutely. Will it be the most appropriate thing if you have to drive, out in the Midwest where there's no recharging stations as it goes right now? No. Will there be changes on the horizon with that one? I think so. I think so. I mean, could you imagine if the cars were actually able to have solar panels built into the cars and maybe some wind generation thing as the cars go down the highway at 50, 55 miles an hour? Or out in the Midwest, if they're driving 400 miles an hour, 400 miles over the course of a day, would you wipe out a current battery? But what if it's constantly generating power while it's using power and it becomes like a net zero thing? Now all of a sudden it's there. We gonna get to that? I mean, how many people thought we were gonna switch over from whale oil to oil coming out of the ground and coal and electricity and all the rest of that stuff? Oh, yeah, come on, you can't do that. I watched some video there about electricity and the war of that, not a war, but the fights that were taking place as to who was going to actually have power or what electricity was going to do, or just going to start fires all over the place and just completely burn things up. Wow, there's a lot of it was scary to make those changes. I'm sure it was. Is it scary to make these changes? Yeah, because people are going to need to be retrained into new positions and the rest of that stuff. Who's paying attention to that? I hope somebody is. My guess is my guess, because I don't know what the extremes are doing, because the extremes are talking about all kinds of things extreme. Who's talking about really, really taking a look at the changes that are going through there? I don't know. I can tell you, though, and I will tell you, that I am very happy to be working with those that I have been in conversations with to make things happen. All right. Much more on a local level. No, much more on a local level. But here's the thing that I think will really, really, truly make a difference overall. And this is why I'm focused, on that aspect of it. And that is speaking to our students as young as possible, because they've always have been the catalyst, the change people. They are the ones that are going to move us forward. And I do think we need to move forward and be able to communicate better than what we have been doing. I think our news is no longer news. I think a lot of it's entertainment, both sides of the coin over here. The extreme comments on both sides of the coin are not doing anybody any good. That needs to be curtailed and brought in to more middle of the road. That'll make things happen a bit more. And now, as soon as we can start focusing in on that aspect of it, not just on ratings and all the rest of the other crap that goes along with it, but really focus on moving our country forward in a way that makes sense, in a way that all of us can communicate on, in a way that all of us can go figure out, let's go to 80%. It's never going to be all. To make that happen, that is something that I could certainly stand behind, not labeled. And I'm not labeled. I'm, not registered either way or anything like that. If you really want to know, I do vote. I do vote. I won't share that one with you. But I also, I don't do the primaries, any of that kind of stuff, But when I'm out there speaking to people, I couldn't care less. Let me rephrase that. I couldn't care less what your label is. I do care a lot about who you are as a person, because those people are going to be the ones to drive us forward. And here's my ask on your side of things, to do the same thing. So my actionable idea of what I'm trying to do and be a part of and support the rest of that stuff, ultimately, it's to get as much stuff, get as much activity, get as much fun, get as much positiveness into our schools as young as possible as that goes. Realistically speaking, it's been much more at the high school level. Can some of the other things that I've been working on really make a difference in that one? I sure as heck hope so. That's one of the reasons, actually is the reason why I'm a board member of the ECNY Foundation, Executive Consultants of New York. What we're doing on that one, two different aspects. One is helping people that are in transition, not necessarily by choice, but those that are in transition, in other words, looking for a new career. My aspect of it is to work with a company, different companies, that are inside of the schools, that are helping the schools with their career days. I've been looking to do those things, and there's a couple of events coming up, but those career days are one. I've spoken to students that is part of the internal business programs, DECA program, virtual enterprise group, and things like that. Because I think the more and more those students see what they like and what they don't like, the clearer they're going to be on what that career is, whether it's the front or the back, the forward-looking to the consumer or the support side of it, the business-to-business side of it. All of it's needed. All of it's needed. Virtual Enterprise Group, I spoke with some of their students. They were doing an event, right? So they put together an executive staff, just like you'd have at any company. And what they needed was someone to be the voice of it at the event. When they made their presentation, every one of those officers had to speak. Hi, there's a little plug-in for communication skills. But when they were at this trade show that they did, their virtual trade show that we did, they needed a few people that were the consumer side of it to get people to buy their product. They needed a few salespeople to go out there and to generate business, to pull people into the booth. They needed people to actually build that booth and build everything that went along with it. That's more the business to business side of it, those building the support side, and then the front facing side of it. Did some of those students find that they love it? Yep. Did some of those students probably find that they hated it? Yep. That went along with it too. What did they learn? What they liked and disliked from a classroom setting. Can we support that effort as a country? More and more money, equal money being put into these schools to do programs like that? Absolutely. Can we, as a business community, support those programs? Absolutely. Without a doubt. Takes a little bit of time. You want to go and support, and some of them have. I got a few friends that supported some of the efforts of the high school vocational programs, the automotive. I'm sorry, it was not automotive. It was their STEM program. STEM program at one of the high schools actually took products that he had, equipment that he had, and donated it. Do the schools need more and more of that? Yeah. Are there many programs that are involved with the different businesses that are reaching out to the schools? Yes. That, my friends, will help to drive a great world. It starts here. That's that, the Harry Chapin thing, man. Charity begins at home, without a doubt. It does. But it's not really charity, it's that win-win. And I'm going to end on this win-win. Win-win-win. And this is with one of the folks that spoke to recently. He goes, win-win, win, win. He kept repeating win. And he's right. He's right. Because when these things happen, who wins? Well, let's see. In my scenario, the student wins because the student's a little bit more focused and a little bit more engaged in the school, in the learning process, in these things. That means that when that student continues to grow, that student has got multiple years of experience in an industry that they have an interest in. Will their career be exactly what it is that they did 5, 10 years ago in school? Absolutely not. It'll change, but so will they. They will continue to go down that path. So when they show up for their job interview right out of high school, or maybe they go to college, they're not just going to college, they're going to college for a reason. They're going to work for a reason at a company because they are engaged in that industry. Business owners, does a business owner win? Absolutely. Look, we're going to get more and more automated in the business world. That's an absolute. That means, and this is true today with many of the manufacturers, they're looking for people that have got a genuine interest in that industry, not just looking for a paycheck. So you tell me, how bad is this interview? Little Joan or Johnny shows up for an interview. Joan or Johnny is 23, 24, 25 years old, walks into one of these metal manufacturing companies and said, hey, I'd like to work here. Owner of the company sits down and said, well, why would you like to work here? Said, I like working with metal. Really? Well, what do you know about metal? Well, for the last 5 years, 10 years, I've been inside of the school STEM program and I've built cars, worked on boats, designed different products. I like the artwork of working with metal. And that owner of the company is going to say, wow. Because what the owner of the company needs is not somebody to work on that assembly line thing. And for the most part, I'm not even sure there are too much assembly line things here on the island. But they're looking to work with companies, and their customers that are coming into that business have got unique needs because they continue to develop things differently. And they need something that's going to fit in with something someplace, and they need more of the creative look on that. That student that's been fooling around with metal for 5 years, 10 years, does some artwork things, does some structural things. Who wins? Student wins. Employer wins. Employee wins. Hey, what about the parents? Now that student is either going directly to a company that's going to pay for further education if needed, further training if needed, and even that, there's government programs for that too. Oh my, the government gets involved in that win-win-win situation. Could you imagine? Parent wins? Absolutely. Because now you got a son or daughter that's totally engaged in what they're engaged in, what they want to work in. That's great. You also don't have a scenario, somebody going to college for, well, because I graduated high school, I go to college. But they're going to college for a reason. They're going to a vocational program for a reason. And they're coming out certified in whatever it is that they really desire. That's a win. It also means that those high school teachers, professors, instructors, guidance counselors now are working with a much more engaged population. Maybe there's less troublesome going on in schools because everybody's engaged in things at a younger age. They're getting less distractions from other things. And I got stories that go along with that one too. Not my story, but I'm telling you, I heard from other people when I attended a car show. That gentleman's comment was, look, I mean, in high school, I was not a great student. I was not an athlete. I was like, I needed to do something and to not go someplace else. And my alternatives, were different, but I loved working on cars. He did it. What did he do? He wound up buying a house that could house a 6-car garage. Six, crazy. Focused, actually. That's great stuff. That's great stuff. And let me tell you, those are folks working on cars. It's not even so much as working on cars. We're talking engineers, robotics. We're talking electronics. We're talking about propulsion systems to be used on anything, anywhere. And my gosh, wouldn't it be great if cars is sitting out in the sun were able to collect enough power to reduce those batteries when they're not in use? What do you think will happen to the top of our roofs here at housing, private, commercial buildings? Fantastic. All because somebody went into a STEM program at a young age because you helped out. That's fantastic. So those elected officials that are doing that, they're having that win-win-win situation. You can apply that in so many different industries. I mean, that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I hope you're interested in. So, politics, that extreme stuff, not doing anybody any good, not a fan of it on either side. Those that are much more on the core side of it, that are really focused on helping out, really moving us forward, without a doubt, whether they be on the front side of it or on the support side of it. That's great. Look, I'm looking to start off this whole thing with a fresh look and a new approach and really excited about everything. Well, let's be realistic, 80% good, 20% frustration. Hey, that's part of it. That's part of it. But as one of these signs says, you know, everything may not be good, but there's good in everything. I got to agree with that one. There it is. I'll just point to it here. Oh, we got my little circle in front of it. You know what? Yeah, it's there. And I welcome you along for that ride. And I'm glad you're joining me for that ride. It'll be a whole lot of fun. Definitely. And that is something that I can certainly get behind. And that is something that I will speak often about, speak well about, and hope to live that when inspired and inspire others to do exactly the same thing.